Our next speaker, I'm going to read it because I love it. She's a life enthusiast, community builder, and 4-time SheEO activator. Jessy Wang is SheEO's Director of Activator Growth, and since 2016, Jessy has led the growth of the Activator Network from 500 Canadian activators to over 5,000 across 5 countries. No small thing. Let's welcome Jessy Wang!
Hi everyone, I hope you're not tired of hearing from me over the last 2 days. I'm back for a talk. I was always scheduled to do this talk, but the hosting was a more recent role, so here we go. I'm here today to share a little bit about the journey of SheEO. As you know, we have been doing radical generosity and practicing radical generosity as a community now for 5 years, and I wanted to share some of the lessons that we've learned along the way. Since 2015, together we have activated 5,000 women who you have all collectively contributed $5 million to support and fund 63 women-led ventures in 5 countries. I really enjoyed the portion of Vicky's keynote yesterday when she was giving a behind the scenes into what the original vision and especially the timeline was for SheEO. Because in her original vision, by 2020, we would have already achieved 1 million activators and $1 billion fund. And I love the part where her and Julie were brainstorming what to do with the wait list after we had activated the first 1,000 women in Canada after a week. So the reality behind the scenes at SheEO, and as many of you who have been with us for a couple of years or who have been actively spreading the message of SheEO and activating women in your network, is that the first lesson here is SheEO is built on relationships. And honestly, when I was thinking about what to share for this talk, at one point I was like, maybe I just have 1 point, because everything comes back to this for SheEO. It is all about relationships and building trust. And MJ Ryan, our SheEO development guide, shared this quote with me, which helped frame things in my mind. So relationships move at the speed of trust, and social change moves at the speed of relationships. And I think this is so true of what we have seen and experienced firsthand at SheEO, especially as we go into new markets where we don't necessarily yet have as many activators. We're just starting to build and to grow the network. Things need to move at the speed of trust. We need to it takes time to cultivate these relationships, to build partnerships with the ecosystem players, to establish that trust. Because at the end of the day, and as you all know, for some, activating is a no-brainer decision. You just hear, sometimes people just hear the name SheEO, or you hear this idea of radical generosity and you're in. You're signing up. My favorite part is on many of the welcome calls, people are sharing, yeah, I'm not really sure what this is, but my friend told me to sign up, so I'm here to learn more after they'd contributed the $1,100. And so, but beyond that, there are, a whole swath of the general public that needs more information or wants to know more details. And so it's all about building trust, especially in new markets. So the first way we see this come to play is people activate through relationships. So in this pie chart here, these represent the different ways that new activators are brought in Australia. And across our 5 regions, the percentage of activators that are brought in by a friend, i.e. referred in through the existing network, is about 55 to 65%. So by and large, people, and many of you in this room were brought in by your friends. Actually, quick show of hands. For all of the activators, how many of you were introduced to SheEO through another activator? Amazing. I think that is very representative of the global community. Because at the end of the day, SheEO is so much more than about the transaction. It's about the relationship. And part of why it can be challenging is because what we are doing as a community is about behavior change. We are trying to shift mindsets and shift the way that we do business and how we treat each other. And so this is hard work, and we're in the journey of figuring out how to communicate this, how to build trust, and all of you have played such an amazing and critical role on this journey. The last thing to note about that one is in terms of activating through relationships, one example that comes to mind is oftentimes, people suggest, try Facebook ads, segmented targeting of women in certain demographics, and or, segmenting the marketing communications. And we have used these digital tools, but we have found at the end of the day, even when we use Activators' personal stories as testimonials and have beautiful videos from the SheEO Ventures talking about the impact that becoming part of SheEO has had on their business, ultimately referring and bringing in your friends is the number one best way and most effective way to build the network together. Alrighty. Ventures getting support in the network through relationships. I have a photo of Alana up here because the year after Alana was selected as a SheEO Venture, she used a portion of the funding that she got from SheEO and hired a sales lead. And that sales lead called 50% of the 500 activators who voted for 21 Toys and funded them in the first year of SheEO. So it's such an incredible example of how to get support from the network. Many ventures, especially newer ventures in the network, while if you do put an ask out, most likely it will be responded to, but ultimately if you want to build relationships and get more support, it is a virtuous circle. It's about asking and offering. It's about relationships. I'm gonna skip that one for time. So activators getting support through relationships as well. One of the things that we've loved seeing is self-organized activator meetups in regions all around the world. And so similarly, with our online community, sometimes when activators post on the community but have never reached out to other activators, have never come out to an event, haven't put in the effort to get to know other women in the network, sometimes they might not get the same reaction as someone who has taken the time, who has reached out to others, who has offered their support, perhaps come out to local events or offered their initiatives and support to the community. So everything about SheEO is built on relationships. The second lesson we've learned over the last 5 years is that we have everything we need in this network. This is a line in our SheEO credo. We see this come to light when we do the practicing radical generosity activity. For example, when Sonia asked yesterday if anyone has a connection to the CEO of Penguin Pickup, and someone indeed in this room knew how to connect to them. My favorite example of this happening online is from a couple of years ago when Sheena from our SheEO Venture Made with Local posted on our platform, does anyone have a contact with someone at Fiasco Gelato in Calgary? The first activator says she is offering to reach out to her Calgary network. The second activator, getting a little bit closer, says Fiasco Gelato was one of EY's 2018 Entrepreneur of the Year finalists, so they should be able to get in touch with them through their marketing team. And then the third activator says, he used to rent my house. I will connect you. This is my favorite example, and I'm so grateful I've kept this screenshot to remind us all that we have everything we need in this network, and now it is just a matter of asking for help. And the same thing applies for the SheEO team too. We now have this incredible community of 5,000 radically generous women that it's also an important reminder to myself and our small team at SheEO HQ that we can ask all of you to help for your support on this journey. Wanted to take this opportunity to highlight our incredible Australian super activators. Marianne is up here in the front, and where's Julie Trell? Are you in this room? She might be in another session. So the Australian super activators have been such an incredible example of local leadership and self-organizing. They have a very, very active WhatsApp channel with about 15 activators from across the country, from coast to coast, with every region represented. And these activators have stepped up to lead locally. They've been involved in every part of the process from beginning to end. So bringing in activators, organizing local events, media connections, getting the word out, recruiting ventures and supporting the ventures on their journey, supporting with a financial validation round through the voting process, sponsorship with Summit organization. It has truly been such an incredible example and such a privilege to work with. And the middle photo is a photo from the Australian simulcast. So in September, to kick off our Australian campaign, the Super Activators wanted to host an Australia virtual simulcast. Did anyone participate in our global simulcast last year? You might remember. There were some technical difficulties. So the Australian activators wanted to come together. So in the course of about 3 weeks, I was like, this feels a little bit tight on timing to pull all the pieces together. But we got all 5 of our Australian SheEO ventures on a Zoom call. They organized 4 simultaneous live breakfast viewing events. In the middle photo is the Brisbane viewing event with over 100 women at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. is very early with the different time zones, and the woman in the blue dress is the Minister of Innovation for the province of Queensland. 4 simultaneous breakfast events at 7 and 8 a.m., and collectively we reached hundreds of women and many activators who signed up on the spot, hearing the impact and the stories of both the ventures and the activators and how deeply the network has impacted them. So big shout out to the Australian Super Activators. Thank you, Marianne. Thank you, Julie, and the others for your leadership and example. The third is that SheEO is co-created and evolving. When Vicky first designed the SheEO model, it was with the entrepreneurs in mind. As many of you know, Vicky is a serial entrepreneur herself, and so when she was approaching this idea of SheEO, it was how might we radically redesign every part of the traditional funding and venture and incubator process in a way that works best for women. It wasn't until the year 2, as a quick aside, when I joined the SheEO team, I was explaining the model, and someone asked me, who is the main customer, or who is the focal point of SheEO? Is it the activator or the venture? And at that point, we weren't sure. But what has really come to light with all of your feedback over time is that while we will always run and facilitate the venture program, and that is the core tenet to SheEO, really, activators are the heart and the core of this organization. Because without activators, none of this would be possible. We wouldn't have funding, we wouldn't have support, and we wouldn't have ventures. So thank you, activators. And just to give you an example of the shift in thinking over time. Another one is, it was fun. I dove a little bit deeper into what language we use to describe SheEO. So when I joined in 2016, I was resurfacing all of those original emails. We described SheEO as a new economic model for female founders. Now, we don't use the term female founders because it's not as inclusive. And we don't describe SheEO in terms of an economic model because it's so much more than about the money and about the capital. As you know, we now describe SheEO, and what we're really all doing together is we are women working on the world's to-do list. And not only with that end in mind, but ultimately to transform systems with the bigger picture. Activators have shared so much feedback with us over the last 5 years. Some activators want monthly meetups and happy hours. Other activators don't like happy hours. Some activators love the way that the voting process, others don't. There's been such a mix of feedback over time, but what has become clear and what has emerged with all of the activators' co-creation and feedback is that what SheEO is and what we are not, at least for now, because we are evolving. And the 4 areas that have emerged that we care deeply about with our time and resources is, number 1, supporting the ventures. Number 2, finance. How do we use our money and our capital and our resources to create the change we want to see in the world? 3rd is mindset shifts. So many of you are very familiar with this. Shifting our mindsets from fear to radical generosity, from scarcity to abundance, from competition to collaboration. And the last one is systems transformation, which is the whole theme of the SheEO Summit. And so these 4 areas are what have emerged. These 4 areas are our 4 content tracks for the last 2 days here at the Global Summit. And what I'm really excited to share is that now that this idea has emerged, moving forward, these 4 areas are going to be our key focus for activator engagement and participation coming soon. So we want to segment and we want to cater to which of these 4 each of you as activators are most passionate about. The first 5 years have been such a roller coaster ride, but being here today with all of you is so deeply moving to see the impact that we've created together. I'm so, wow, Vicky's really rubbed off on me. I don't think I've gotten teary on stage. Yeah, make another joke.
Sing on through
More jokes. I'm deeply privileged and I'm so honored to be part of building this community. And I just imagine, I hope there's no video. I'm just so excited about the impact we will create in the next 5 years. Where will we be at our next global gathering? Thank you all so much for being on this journey with us.
Jessy Wang, everyone. Don't worry, you only cry because your heart is wide open, and that's what we need. So yay!
It's Sherry's fault. You know?
All right, so anyone have some questions for Jessy? We have a question right at the front here.
Hi, Jessy. It's not a question. It's a statement. When I explain to people about what is SheEO, not just a definition, whatever, that's changed. I said, it was the first place that I felt at home, and I cried during the summit. I went up to Vicky, and I cried. And that was a very rare and good thing. So I'm glad you cried today. Thank you for all your work.
Usually I cry over there, just not on here.
And any other questions? There we are.
Thank you, Jessica. This is amazing. Can you tell us more about radical generosity and how did you get there? Because I think it's so powerful. It's one of the things that I keep adding to every post, the sign and radical generosity besides SheEO. And tell us more about it. How did you come there? I mean, it's wonderful.
I would actually love to invite Lisa Tepper. You're nodding and smiling. I thought you were like, yep. I'd love to invite Lisa Tepper to share her story because it's always been a really powerful example of the... Which one? I'm a storyteller. Wait while I prime her.
As she shares the stage, radical generosity.
I'm a storyteller. So when I get talking about SheEO, I'm like, oh my gosh, here goes the Lisa Tepper podcast on SheEO. So that's why I had to say which story. But when I first heard the SheEO story, which is, imagine if you were surrounded by radically generous women. Would you think and act differently? And the first time I heard that, I thought, I have never been in a room filled with radically generous women. And that was a transformational moment for me because ever since that moment, every time I'm in a SheEO environment, I am in a room with radically generous women. So what is radical generosity? Give yourselves all a big hug. This is radical generosity.
And just to build on that, in previous events, we've shared these 3 mindsets. So some of you will be familiar with this, and this will be new for others, that we feel like really capture the spirit. So it's go giver, go getter, and learn it all. So if you're a go-giver, you are going to take initiative to reach out to others and offer your support. You want to help others, both ventures and activators. If you're a go-getter, if you have an idea for how to improve something, you can just, you have the idea and follow through and take initiative. We've seen so many examples of that. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we had a simulcast and then the Australian activators executing 4 events and the simulcast. So if you're a go-giver, go-getter, and then a learn-it-all as opposed to a know-it-all. With these mindset shifts, we found women who really resonate with these 3 often are very delighted with your experience in the Activator Network as it really captures radical generosity.
Great. Do we have a time for more questions? Jessy, there we have a question at the back.
Just real quick, so with all those connections in the SheEO app, will that stay available for some time, or what's going to happen with that?
That will stay available for some time.
Okay. And the ask gives and stuff that are out there that people can still take advantage of those. Okay, good.
You can download the contacts. And you can export the list. What else can you do? Yeah.
You go to the top right hand, there's a little arrow with a thing. So in the top right-hand corner, in all the connections that you've connected with and you've added the people, there's a downward pointing arrow. If you press it, it will say, do you want to export this list? So it is magic. Enjoy.
Thank you, Kim.
Yay.
So yeah, definitely encourage everyone to take advantage of that feature, especially, the Ask and Gives will still be available, but of course activity will die down over time. And then please connect on the SheEO community portal.
Okay, that's all we have time for the question and answer. Thank you very much for your wisdom and your expertise. Jessy Wang, everyone.